Welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name's Brandon. I'm a lifetime Seminole, and I am joined by my co-host Chris, virtually and separately this week, who is a lifetime Gator fan. We are putting aside our differences as rivals to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. Today, Chris and I will give you our separate opinions on what we think of the Gators winning at home versus Samford, 70-52. My quick thought, since I didn't really watch this game, didn't think there was a need, is I was surprised that the Gators needed to score 70 to win in a game like this, but they were tested, and they still came out victorious. We will also recap our thoughts of Florida State's amazing, dramatic, and shocking win at home versus Miami, 31-28. So thank you. We will give our previews of the games upcoming this week at the end of the episode. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for joining us. All right, here we go. 2021 Florida State versus Miami. Miami comes in beating Florida State 4 years in a row. Comes in winning on the season 3 games with a 5-4 record, looking very streaky. From the opening kickoff, very chippy. Miami receives it, and a little bit of jawing going back and forth just in the first play. Number 4 on the defensive line, Thomas, man, gets after it. On the first third down we faced on defense, he just puts a little paw up on top of the defensive line and bats that pass away. Harley and Rambo, the targets early, and I think that Brownlee is going to be covering Rambo. Ugh. You cringe. You also know he can make some plays. You also know he gives up big ones. We'll see. Nice run by Travis on the counter for 10. Man, what an amazing call after a defensive offsides to get Ward outside. Man, he made a move in the secondary, plus tack on a little personal foul action. Well, after Miami commits 5 defensive penalties on the first drive of the game, you really would have thought not scoring a touchdown for FSU would have been a failure, and you'd be right. So we do take advantage. Wow, Van Dyke making I wouldn't say rare mistake, but uncommon mistake. But he's starting to show a little bit of freshmanism in his 5th play of the game. He throws an interception down the field and into double coverage. And the corner, it looks like, tracked the ball down, picked it off. So, good for him. Yeah, FSU going with a lot of motion here. The pitch out to the sidecar running back, running guys in a jet sweep for the wide receiver formation, down the red zone, moving a tight end out to the wide side of the field, and then still running it up the middle, or to the left side, I think. Yeah, anyways, we can kind of finagle some positive yardage. Looks like the approach by Miami to get out of a funk on this third drive of theirs is to run Knight, at least on the first 2 plays. And it looks like, throughout the season, they have actually thrown the ball to Knight out of the backfield, something Florida State is very familiar with. That is Norvell's approach. So the defense is stand tall through 7 plays, and the offense for Miami is reeling. I am blown away by that interception by Robinson. That was amazing. He met the ball right at the point of being caught and just took it away before he fell down. It was close. I mean, you could have said the wide receiver caught it too, but man, what a play, what an effort. Wow, for a defensive-minded head coach, Miami has jumped off sides 4 times in the first quarter thus far. So thus far in the first quarter, at the end of the first quarter, Miami has jumped offside 5 times, thrown 2 interceptions, had 2 drop passes. Wow. And add to Miami getting their 3rd turnover forced, losing a sack fumble by Jermaine Johnson. Holy cow. Yeah, special teams matters. That's where everybody's taking all their aggression, pushing and shoving. Man's man, Travis running through contacts, spinning out, pulling guys with him. Looked like a fullback at that last round of the first quarter. Whoops. So not a perfect game for Florida State. A little bit of a couple of series in the first quarter where you see some penalties, back to sub. We did have to punt. And to start the second quarter, a delayed pitch that was off target and slowed down the progress. Wasn't the speed you'd want it at. Great read by Jordan Travis, that pass to Ontario Wilson. And man, if Ontario doesn't slip, the defender probably runs right past him out of bounds, and that's an easy walk-in touchdown. So that's unfortunate because we know this series ends up Florida State settling for just 3 points, and so could have been the difference. That's going to be one of the first plays we're going to see, luck-wise, not go FSU's way. So we'll count that as unlucky number 1. Is McLean the biggest wide receiver we have on the roster? He must be, because every time we're in the red zone, we need a fade to the corner. That's almost always the guy they target. It hasn't worked out really well. We've not been very successful with it. So maybe we should have him practice. We'll see. Pop. Nice hit by Akeem Dent. Reminds me of Stanford Samuels and Roscoe Parrish back in 2003. Well, I'm impressed by Florida State on this drive. Starting on their own 1-yard line, they roll out and get some breathing room out to the 6, and then count it 1, 2, 3 rushes of 10 yards plus. Man, up until this point in the game, you see absolutely no way Miami stands any kind of chance or would dig out of a hole. Probably the right decision to try a 52-yard field goal. I think Fitzgerald has hit a couple of long ones this year. I think Notre Dame, that one sticks out for some reason. So, not a terrible... The last 3 plays on offense, you couldn't get anything running. So, not the worst decision. Boy, double lateral in the backfield. We bit hard on that. Knighton took the direct snap. Van Dyke was lined as a wide receiver. Yep. You were just waiting for something like that to happen to bust him open. It did. Fun stat. That pass play went for 45 yards. That matched their entire offensive production the entire day, essentially in the first half. And the big runs continue. There's a flag on this one, but Corbin really is constantly getting chunk plays. So is Travis. In reality, so let's call back on holding, which I'm not surprised by. Probably still on the outside, couldn't really tell. But really up to this point, physically, offensive line for Florida State just really making it work, making it happen. And the constant misdirection, the constant threat of Travis just works. A little foreshadowing here, but I'm a little worried about Florida State's offensive approach in the red zone. And you don't have a power runner. You really don't want to use Travis for that. Short yardage, just take a bunch of hits. Yet that's what we continually go back to. And as we will find out in the last minute of the game, that's what you're forced to do, sometimes to come out and win. Yeah, of course, Norvell is ticked off at the end of the half. You never want to settle for 3 points, especially when you had plenty of time. You had timeouts to use. Who doesn't? You can never score too many points. That was actually one of the first drops, if not the first drop of the game. Young. That would have really switched momentum here. Knowing that the third quarter you're not going to score. He's not able to secure it all the way to the ground. And that would have put us right around the 34-yard line. Set us up for another score. And instead we have to settle for a punt. That's a couple of plays you want to have back, especially since you were just killing them with momentum right now. And of note, Florida State offense, only one long earned touchdown drive. That was the first one of the game. And Jermaine Johnson making plays. You score your second touchdown off of a short field, a fumble recovery for TD. You get 2 field goals. You miss a field goal. I think a punt or two mixed in there. And, yes, a couple of missed opportunities out there. Boy, we actually had our screen set up on the left side of the field to Corbin, and I don't know what happened there. It's just a terrible throw and miscommunication. Well, there we go. I was kind of waiting for some kind of mistake to happen, and we lose a fumble. I mean, that means now we're 1 of 8 on third downs. So, again, missed opportunities, and this time a mistake. Obviously the biggest one. I mean, what else do you need here? Just freaking terrible luck Bad luck for Florida State, number 2 on the night. A pass that is defended by 26, almost tipped a second time, and then just out of nowhere, wide receiver in the back of the end zone is able to come down with it 15 yards from the original pass target. That's at least 2 really big catches by Douglas on the night. That one on 3rd and 10. And, man, they just... Either Miami's missing tackles or they're doing it inappropriately, like horse collar and face mask. And a long punt where we down Miami inside the 5 is immediately squandered away by a long pass to Rambo. So, despite a great special teams effort, it's not used well. Well, I'll tell you, another unlucky thing, number 3, Brownlee running into the kicker. This guy, highest of highs, lowest of lows. My goodness. What really made this detrimental to Florida State is the gutsy call by Manny Diaz to actually go for it on 4th down after this. And I don't know, maybe the defense was sleeping on it. They were not sure. They were stunned. But Miami comes out 4th and 6, converts, and then scores almost immediately. So the Hurricanes, dancing on the midfield logo. Ooh, I'm never a fan of that. I don't care. But why would you do it when you're trailing in a game? Why would you do it during a game? Oh, boy. Ooh, early 4th quarter. Parchment is open and behind a defender on a sideline route, and Jordan Travis sees it perfectly, and Parchment stops running his route. Man, he would have been gone. That would have been a huge gain. And instead it ends up being an incomplete pass. FSU has to punt, and then Miami will go down to score and take an 8-point lead. So that one I can't really put on an unlucky play. That one just ends up being a very bad decision. Jermaine Johnson turned in one of the best solo defensive performances I think I have ever seen at FSU. And the ACC agrees by naming him probably their player of the year. And he leads the conference in tackles for loss. Man. 5 of 12 on 4th down conversions Florida State is. So the debate rages on in my own mind. Does Norvell go for it? Does he punt? And with just about 9 minutes left to go in the 4th quarter, down by 8, having all of the momentum lost, and with a hope and a wing and a prayer at this point, you try a fake here and you barely get it, yet you do convert, and man, it could not have been closer. It was an interesting decision because Rector, who's like a 3rd or 4th string QB at this point, was lined up out wide, came back in under center, and it still went a direct snap to Jordan Travis. You get creative, you do what you can. As this drive continues in the 4th quarter, I really thought, with maybe one more possession left, FSU goes all in on this drive. It was toward the end of the drive, progressing quickly enough that it started to make more and more sense to kick the field goal. And up until 2 plays before that field goal attempt, I said, you got to go to the end zone. You got to have your 2-point play ready to go. And they just kept changing my mind. The 15-yard penalty really helped adjust that. Noles making a tackle on 2nd and, I think, 6. The pass out to Knighton, if he does not make that tackle, certainly goes for a 1st yard and probably more. And that allows the defense to set up for a 3rd and 4, and the result of which is a stop. Brings up 4th down. Mallory is not able to convert. And on the ensuing drive, as we saw earlier, Douglas, huge catch. Was it 53 yards? Booyah. Obviously, top 3 biggest play of the game. And you put yourself in a scenario to actually win. That is what mattered at that point. A little bit of a stall in the first couple of downs, but on 4th and 14, a scenario you really only dream up that your offense can convert and put pressure on the defense. It happened. And Parchment will live with this moment, forever, and he's going to live in Florida State lore. Much like Robinson did against the Florida Gators back in the early 2000s, converting a huge 4th and 13 in the swamp, put FSU in a chance to win in 2003. Man, so we go down the 1-inch line. In this scenario, I really think Florida State did need to give all of their max efforts to get that 1 yard, as I alluded to earlier. So, yes, you can't roll out and throw a pass, in my opinion. You can't risk the sack. You can't risk some kind of weird defensive play where it gets popped in the air again. You can't risk losing 2 yards. You can't risking, some kind of holding or false start. I think the approach there was good. And, Miami really could have approached that 2 ways as far as the scenario goes. Most people would say, let's let them score. Let Florida State get in the end zone. Try and stop the 2-point conversion. You go down and win. You save yourself some time. I also see Florida State's offense, and we have kicked ourselves in the behind quite a bit this year. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was against Wake Forest. We were on the 1 yard line and didn't even score from there. We fumbled the ball away. So that was Milton. But this is 6 of one, half dozen of the other, where Miami knows they have to stop us one way or score it on the other. So I don't know. That either way, we got in the end zone. FSU gets a 2-point conversion. Whew, big sigh of relief. Noles go up 3 and seal the game on the ensuing drive with the rule that I was not familiar with, and that is that you needed 3 seconds to spike the ball. It makes perfect sense when you think about it. Someone told me this analogy from basketball. A dunk takes 0.4 of a second in basketball. If you're going to alley-oop pass in, for instance, let's say out of bounds, you need that much time for a dunk to happen. And there's their rule. You need 3 seconds to spike a ball. And so that's how Florida State walks off into glory with a victory. And man, is it a big one. The Noles move up to 4-6. I know a lot of people are going to go with, hey, you can win your next 2 and go to a bowl game. I don't think the chances of that are very good. I'll get to the Boston College preview in a few minutes. But this really gives you a boost. This really helps your recruiting. We saw a couple of guys that were teetering commit. These weren't huge things, but, I mean, you walk away saying this was a good atmosphere. It was a great game. Sure, a lot of things we need to work on. A lot of things we need recruits to come in and help us fix. But you walk away after a very emotional game. A lot of pushing and shoving. You had some benches clear to start the fourth quarter. It had a dramatic comeback. You had a win at home. You had Jermaine Johnson just going off. You have a key catch on 4th and 14 to go down to the 1-inch line. There's really not much else you can ask for except maybe working on this and then blowing out a team like Miami in a few years to come. So good for the Noles. Good to get back in the win column. Great to end a 2-game skid. Fantastic to beat a great team. I don't know, great is the right word, but probably one of the hottest teams in the ACC right now over the last month for sure. And it's going to give the Noles a big boost, a lot of momentum going forward.
I am Chris, and I am an uneasy Gator fan. Okay, so Florida survives, and I shouldn't be saying this. Yes, Florida survives a game against Samford, not Stanford, Samford with an M. And we win in a basketball score, 70-52. And I don't know what to say about this game. I've been saying this a lot about Gator games throughout the year. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to make of this team pretty much after every game. I don't know where we are, who we are, what we're even doing. Dan Mullen's seat continues to get hotter and hotter after this. In a game where we were down at halftime, down at 14 at one point, and a game where it looked like our defense was forced to play. They did not want to be on the field. Thankfully that our defense was not the worst defense that day. Samford gave up 70 points. But, man, I don't know what to say other than I'm just glad that we won, but it's one of those games where it's like a defeating victory. I'm not sure how to describe it. You don't feel good after this win. You win, but you don't feel good at all. I mean, our offense on one hand, it's like Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, this whole team all year has been Jekyll and Hyde, and we were Jekyll and Hyde within Jekyll and Hyde in that our offense was breaking records this game. Yet at the same time, our defense was breaking records again for the wrong reasons. Giving up 42 points and a half. That's the most they've ever given up at the Swamp. And again, I'm going to say this a lot. Against Samford. I really don't know what to make of this game other than we don't want to play. I was afraid this was going to happen. I said that we would win by, I think, 17. We won by 18. I was right, but man, this is a wild one. Our defense, again, made the opponent's offense look like All-Americans. Their quarterback, Welch, I think he went over like 400 yards that game. Their tight end went off on us. The player, Washington, I think it was receiver, he had 124 yards receiving and a touchdown. He also ran for a touchdown, also returned a kickoff for a touchdown. He had a phenomenal day. The tackling, was not there. Blown coverages galore. Our defense looked so slow. Guys that were veterans making missed tackles along with new guys. I really don't know what was going on. Obviously, you saw the effects of not having Grantham, and they were kind of scrambling to figure it out. And I don't know if it was just this game because of we fired our D coordinator, or if this is how we're going to play the rest of the year. I'm a little bit worried that's the latter half of that, but it was so bad. It was really bad. Halfway through the game, you're thinking we are going to legit lose, and we could have. Thankfully, Emory Jones was on fire that game. He broke record. He had 550 total yards, and which is a record for Florida during one game. I think he's accounted for 7 touchdowns, 6 in the air, 1 on the ground. Running backs had a phenomenal game, mainly in the passing game. Pierce, Davis, and Wright also, they all caught a touchdown, I think. And I think 2 of the guys ran for touchdowns. So they were phenomenal. Kimora Gamble, tight end, he had a phenomenal game. And it was weird. We scored 70 out of necessity, which is odd. Scoring 70 is, okay, it's rare, but against Samford, you'd think that's normal. But you're expecting the opponent's score to be like 7 or 10, not 52. And so having the score out of necessity against Samford is so strange and so weird. I want to say 97, we dropped like 82 on somebody, but it was 82 to like 13 or something like that. So just scratching your head all around with this game and with this team. It doesn't feel good. You won the game, but you don't feel happy about yourself at all. I'm very curious to see what we're going to do next week. I don't know if Dan Mullen survives this year, honestly. Even though we did win, I don't know how he survives. Unless we blow out Missouri and blow out Florida State and have a great bowl game. I really don't. I was just saying, let him make some coaching changes, give him this year and the end of next year. I don't know if he does survive this. I really just don't. I don't even know how I feel if he should survive it, honestly. But I don't know if he does. Regardless of how I feel, I don't know how he bounces back from this. And although it was a win, and you've had like a 3-game losing streak, and you're back in the win column and 1 win away from a bowl, I just don't know. It was that bad. I'm not trying to overreact, but I honestly, I think I'm late to this. I think everyone else has been saying this for a while. Yeah, I think his tenure at Florida is just, it's limited. It's not going to be, I don't know if you should go ahead and pull the trigger and fire him now and start the coaching search early, or Maybe the fact that he fired Grantham bought him time. I thought I was going to buy him more time. I really don't know what to do. I don't know what should happen, but regardless of what I think should happen, I don't think he's going to be the head coach at the end of the season. We don't know. But like I said before, this team is Jekyll and Hyde. This team is an enigma. So who knows what's going to happen with him. But I know it's very hard to find any Gator fans that want him around. And I think even I've been one of those guys who's been hanging on and hanging on and hanging on, but I'm starting to let go of it. Let go of that hope of he's going to turn this program around. And it is crazy to see, I think our friend Jared said this in a text, he said it's crazy to see such a huge rise because we were pretty bad. And then he comes in and then 3 straight New Year's Six Bowls. And then immediately wheels fall off. And I don't think we're going to make a bowl game, honestly. So just to see him jump up that quick and fall that quick is crazy. And it's weird because it's all on Mullen because all of those players that were from the previous coach are gone now. Maybe a couple redshirt seniors, but for the most part, this is Dan Mullen's team. The guys that he picked, he recruited, he developed, and they're failing. Offense is his thing. Sometimes they look competent. Sometimes they don't show up at all. Defense has just been awful the second half of the year. Just completely awful. And really, I don't know which game it was. Maybe it was LSU. Definitely Georgia. But they broke us. We are a broken team. We were broken going into South Carolina. I don't know how we survived this game. And I don't know what we're going to do going forward. But this was really bad. This was the only thing that could make it worse was obviously losing. But this was right next to it. This was right next to losing to Samford. And where do you go from here? I really don't know. Thank goodness basketball season is around the corner because it's tough times as Gator fans right now. So for the Florida State-Miami game, this was a wild one. Talk about potential game of the year when it comes to the awards show. This one's way up there. Definitely top 5, I think. Maybe even top 3. It's a game where FSU typically loses. They've been losing these type of games last couple of years, especially this year. And it looked like they were going to lose it, honestly. I just didn't think they would come back like they did. And they pulled it out. Jordan Travis was clutch at the end with that long pass on the right side and finally getting a rushing touchdown, which it looked like Miami was like, oh, they stopped him a couple times, but then Miami jumped off sides and he was able to punch it in. It looked like that after the third quarter, Miami was going to just run away with them. And they had all the momentum. Everything was going right. Rambo was starting to heat up. But Florida State, you got to give them credit. They went down, got that field goal. Then with a minute something left, I even said when Miami scored, I was like, oh, they gave them too much time. And Florida State goes down and gets that touchdown at the very end to win the game. I picked the score. I said 31-28, but I picked Miami winning this game, so kind of close, maybe kind of points. So for negatives, obviously, they gave up that lead they had earlier in the game and let Miami come back into it and just dominate the third quarter and have another field goal missed, and then they let Rambo heat up. But positives, though, they had 10 different receivers catch a ball. I think one of them was for -2, but still, outside of that guy, still 9 different receivers catching a ball. Jordan Travis, again, he is the heartbeat of that team. And as he goes, so do they go. And if he's on his game, they're going to be on their game offensively. They forced turnovers on defense, which is good. And like I said, they finished strong. And what a game for them. What a victory for Florida State. Beating a Miami team that was kind of up and down all season and thinking they were just going to turn it around against Florida State, and they did not. So good on Florida State.
All right, Brandon here to talk about Florida versus Missouri. And this really actually will be a competitive game. I thought earlier in the season that the Gators would probably run away with this. I mean, given the recent struggles, you definitely, from the outside looking in, can see that this will be a tough one for Florida to win, especially at Missouri. I think what it comes down to is quality of wins here, and I know that UF is a different team than they were even a month ago, but considering Missouri's wins this year against Central Michigan, Southeast Missouri State, and North Texas to begin the year, you really can't be impressed with that. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take Florida to win on the road, believe it or not, 34-24, and upset the Tigers. I do this with the full understanding that the Gators are struggling, and a lot of their fan base may think they may not win a game the rest of the year, but Florida has at least beaten Tennessee, and so there's that. They were competitive against LSU. Missouri in the games that they lost just weren't competitive, just losing the Tennessee is 62-24. They lost 43-6 to Georgia. That's fine. They lost to South Carolina, and Vandy was a win, but the East has kind of gone back and forth. I really do think that the Gators do have better talent and will win. I know Missouri just hasn't held up over the course of the season, and they played poorly, especially to start. But I will still take the Gators in this one.
So Florida travels to Missouri this weekend. They are one win away from being bowl eligible. They have two chances at Missouri and Florida State, obviously. And we're facing a Missouri team who looks, I think they're 5-5 also, so they want to be bowl eligible. And a Missouri team that, a couple things, they don't have the greatest defense right now. That's where their weakness is. I think their strength, obviously, is their running back, Batty, who's had 1,200 yards rushing and 12 touchdowns. So he's the guy that you really worry about. But their defense, they're giving up 35 points a game overall. So that's good because, obviously, you just dropped 70 on somebody, although it was Samford. You dropped 70, and it looks like the offense is kind of getting their confidence back a little bit. So you like to see that. But Missouri just beat South Carolina, who, by the way, destroyed Florida. So that kind of gives you a pause for concern. Like I said, their running back is dangerous, and our run defense has been awful. Well, everything on defense, let's be honest, but especially our run defense. I told South Carolina to do this. I told Georgia this. I'm going to tell Missouri this, and maybe I should stop telling them this. Just run the counter. Run the counter. Run the counter. And then when you don't want to run the counter, play action. We're going to fall for all of it. That's what you got to do. Florida is an 8.5-point favorite. And I just don't see how we are, honestly. I really don't know. I mean, we've walked in the games where we're 18-point favorites and getting blown out by 20+. So we just don't look good. I know Missouri's not good either, but we're really bad. Good things that we have going for us. Jones does look sharp last few games. But I don't know what we're going to do with our defense. I don't know which defense is going to show up. If the coaching staff, the new coaching staff, the interim defensive coaching staff can get it together. Now they've had a game under their belt. But our last 4 games on defense, we've given up 49 points, 34 points, 40 points, and 52 against Samford, by the way. So I don't have any confidence. I have no confidence at all. It's on the road. I don't know if our defense can stop the running back. My guess, if I had to guess, it would be a shootout. This game is going to probably be a shootout, but I just don't see how we win. Unless Missouri they turn it over 15 times and they forget to stop the run, because we do have some decent running backs. If they forget that, maybe, but I think they're excited after beating South Carolina. They're one win away from getting a bowl eligible, and man, would they love to just deny us. So I really think it's Missouri, and I think it's Missouri big in a shootout. So I'm going to say Missouri 38, Florida 24. I know we're favored, and do we have better team? Yes, talent, coach, whatever. But right now, I have zero, and I mean zero confidence in the Gators this year. I don't see how we win this game. And honestly, I don't see how we win against Florida State, but we'll get to that later. I might be singing a different tune after this week, but right now, I'm thinking Florida goes into Missouri and gets beat again. So, unfortunately, I think Florida loses 38-24 to Missouri.
So the Florida State Seminoles travel in November to play the Boston College Eagles. And Boston College has been an interesting team for a couple of reasons. They're bowl eligible like they were last year, but they didn't go to a bowl. That's a side note from the 2020 COVID year. The biggest story is their quarterback, Djokovic. They are clearly a better team with him, much like Florida State is with Jordan Travis, except he brings just a very different element. This is his third game back at QB. First game back, only scored 17 against Vautech on the road, but last week against Georgia Tech, this is not what Florida State wanted to see. He got everything together, he figured things out, and he scored 41 with the offense. So this has definitely been a squad that's better with him on offense, but still can win without him. They just don't quite look the same. However, Florida State will still be facing the same Boston College defense that has been questionable. And if there's going to be a way that this is going to be won, it's going to be a team that Florida State scores a lot of points on. Now, this is a Boston College team that did lose 4 games in a row at one point. Let's keep all this in mind. So their psyche might be a little damaged from when Djokovic was out. But defense last week gave up 30 to Georgia Tech, so there's some sight there. They only gave up 3 to Virginia Tech, but that also led to, we think, probably Justin Fuente losing his job at Vautech. They did play decent along that stretch of losing games, but early in the season, I don't know if their style of defense complements what Djokovic does. Not totally sure. What you do know is that Florida State's defense has had some success in stopping teams, especially with their defensive line. And hey, if Jermaine Johnson shows up like he did against Miami, leading the conference in sacks and getting pressures all the time. I mean, not only that, but Keir Thomas, some other guys that we didn't expect to get a lot of snaps this year on the defensive line are really starting to show up big now. Just some more testament to Odo Haggins and his coaching ability. So this game will be close, and it should be if Florida State has a lot of ways that they can challenge the Eagles. And it's been really tough because it's hard to know with the Florida State ride. Are they riding off of the Miami win? Are they going to go back to some kind of streak like they had early in the season where they went 3 in a row? Let's keep in mind that streak included UMass, so let's not be too excited, in Syracuse. And it is difficult to know here what's going to happen. I think ultimately the line of 1.5 for BC being the favorite is probably very accurate, and I'm going to agree with it. I'm going to take Boston College actually to win by 4, and it's probably going to be because Boston College scores more than we can handle, and we're just not going to be able to match up with their pressure because of the style that they play. So give me Boston College 31, Florida State 27. Again, just like I've said, probably 6 out of the last 8 games, I'm not going to be surprised if Florida State wins this game. The weather may be a factor. I'm not so sure. It is cold. It is November. We are Florida people, but I still think I'm going to give the edge to Boston College by 4.
All right, so Florida State. My thoughts on Florida State, Boston College. Boston College coming off a couple of wins, and Florida State obviously coming off that huge win against Miami, gaining some major confidence. I do like BC's defense. I think they give up just under 20 points a game, so that's impressive. Even though, no matter who you play, the fact that you're giving up only 20 a game is pretty good. It's on the road for Florida State. Now, can they manage that huge emotional swing at home against your big rival, comeback win? What a game! Can you take that energy and on the road away from Doak and beat a Boston College team who's doing pretty good? I think they're 6-4. It's a noon game. Interesting to see how that is going to play out. But I think if Jordan Travis is healthy and he is on, I think FSU wins this game. I don't think it's much of a. It might be a close one. I would say actually, But I'm really liking the way he's playing and the way that they're rallying around him. The defense is stepping up just a little bit, and I think their confidence leads them to a victory. So I say FSU 27-24.
This is Brandon saying go Noles.
This is Chris. Go Gators.